Shabbat Shalom, Kahalo Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, Bahashim Kakadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us His truth. Shabbat Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word of truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. All right, this lesson is going to go into the sea hip and the history and the evolution, if you will. I was looking for information on Jim Jones and Drink the Kool-Aid, right? Amazing that phrase "drink the Kool-Aid," right, is attached to Jim Jones. When you understand how many Jakes were out there in that jungle, and you know how Jake loved Kool-Aid with a 5 pound bag of sugar poured in it, all right. Even the phrase "drink the Kool-Aid" goes directly to Jake, and that's who drank the Kool-Aid. So that was they knew who they had out there. They knew that they had the tribes out there, and they were doing experiments on them, mind control. They were trying to see if they could, you know, brainwash MK Ultra Jake to take his own life, right? And that's what that whole thing is on its face. When they would have what was called a white night ceremony where they rehearsed the drinking of the Kool-Aid just in case they had to commit suicide. So on a white night, which is what happened the night that they supposedly killed him. So out of 1,200 people, mostly Jakes, 300 people drank the Kool-Aid. The other ones ran out into the jungle and got shot dead. Okay, it was this devil trying to come up with maybe we can get them all to just kill themselves through brainwash and MK Ultra, mind control, that type of thing. That's what that actually was. And there's a bunch of the same program in the same area down in South America, right? All Jakes, right? All dealing with the tribes. When you look closely, it was dealing with the tribes. So I got to thinking, I'm like, well, what the hell was Waco? You know, what experiment or what false flag or what, kind of operation was that? And so I'm still doing some research, but I did come, you find things when you're doing a diligent search. Um, so I'm going to play something, and it goes into the sea hip, right? And the history of the sea hip. So let's start right here at 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his device. This devil is hell bent on killing us, right? Pursuant to Genesis 27 and 41, all right? Pursuant to Psalm, the 83rd chapter, right? They then came together to plot against us. So, what devices, right, should we be aware of that this guy already has in operation? Well, the main one is the C hip, the MOT to the B, all right? And through this guy coming forward, if you will, this whistleblower, he's going to bring to light, things that they've been doing in progression to get this chip ready for what they needed to do. And here we are, 30 years later, right, from let's say Waco, for example. Waco was 30 years. Jim Jones was, 35, maybe 40 at this point. So the whole thing is just crazy. But we can see in hindsight what is going on now. So we're not ignorant of his device. We need to know these things, okay? Let's go here. It's a lot. Obadiah 1 and 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Well, thanks to the unicorn, right, we can put the pieces of the puzzle together. All right, so let's check this out. I had to go to where is that? I had to go to Rumble to get this. because I'm looking all over. You used to be able to find things on YouTube, 12 years ago. You used to be able to find decent information, but they got all of that shit is expunged now, right? You might find a video going back 12 years that has a little bit of info in it. 12 years ago, you used to be able to find damn near anything. All right, so I have this queued up at like, what is it? An hour and 20 minutes. And the name of the video is former CIA asset Robert Cody Snodgrass. CIA. CIA did it. OKC bombing the hangman. Okay, it's a hangman report. And they got this guy Cody. And he was a bomber, right? He made bombs and blew shit up. And when he saw Oklahoma City, he knew, he said, oh, I know what they did there. I know why they did. He was in the CIA in different, different military forms of intelligence. So what he's doing here is he's being a whistleblower and coming out with information. Wrote a book called Choosing the Light, as though he did all of this skullduggery and dirt. And now he's, now it's on my conscience and I have to bring. No, the Most High got you singing like a bird right now. So let's listen to this segment. It's about 8 minutes, and he's just coming with so much information. And particularly, I want you to listen to what he's saying about microchips and Timothy McVeigh, who was supposedly the Oklahoma City bomber. All right. Now, when you're dealing with McVeigh, you have to deal directly with what happened at Waco, because McVeigh was sitting outside of Waco when it was going down, because he had just got out of Desert Storm and da-da-da-da. This guy he's gonna break it down. So listen closely. We're gonna let this play, get a couple of precepts. I just thought that this was worth hearing, because it goes directly into what? The M-O-T to the B. All right? Why did McVeigh do what he did? He was a soldier. He was a part of the military. So why then did he supposedly turn on America? All right? Well, once you find out what they had you over there doing and why, right, you get mad. So let's check this out. This is Cody Snodgrass on the Hangman Report.
We did Nicaragua with the beams and the SDI and the psychotronic weapons, and then the psychotronic use of covertly weapons there at the Branch Davidian compound. And so we're going to get back to McVeigh, because McVeigh had the night vision and saw what they were doing, machine gunning up the Branch Davidians illegally, pre-trial. And he had just got back from Desert Storm. Now, a lot of people don't know this. When he was getting his anthrax shots, like we talked about before, and his standard course of injections to go over there to Iraq, he was part of a covert test.
Okay, now let me interject real quick. In the military, they line you up, they line up all the soldiers when it's time to take your shots, when you're about to deploy. And they have these guns with several vaccines or whatever in one gun. And it'll shoot you like 3 or 4 different times. Pop, 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 and all those different, whatever they're putting in you will go in and then move to the next person, right? And I remember this happening to me. So what he's describing right now is, he's saying that when McVeigh was in getting his shots, right, to deploy to Desert Storm or whatever, they also were doing something, covert. So let's listen to that again. Listen to what he's saying.
We did Nicaragua with the beams and the SDI and the psychotronic weapons, and then the psychotronic use of covertly weapons there at the Branch Davidian compound. And so we're going to get back to McVeigh, because McVeigh had the night vision and saw what they were doing, machine gunning up the Branch Davidians illegally, pre-trial. And he had just got back from Desert Storm. Now, a lot of people don't know this. When he was getting his anthrax shots, like we talked about before, and his standard course of injections to go over there to Iraq, he was part of a covert test. And it was a Lockheed Martin satellite test. Simulator Tracker. That's what BEAST stands for.
Did you hear that? I have to stop it right there because he brought up the word beast. Okay? And in a minute, he's going to say something about a microchip. And we all know, right, what Revelation 13:16 is about. All right? Now, I'm not saying that that's what this guy is talking about, but this is what he's saying. He just gave you the acronym for the word beast, right? And what it meant to them, right? And it's just, that's the spirit, if you will, all right? They're not putting those things together. This isn't the C-HIP that's going to allow you to buy and sell, but this is the slow progression and the evolution of what? The MOTB, right? They're even calling this operation here with the acronym BEAST, all right? So at the very least, that's spiritual.
Weapons there at the Branch Davidian compound. And so we're going to get back to McVeigh because McVeigh had the night vision and saw what they were doing, machine gunning up the Branch Davidians illegally, pre-trial. And he had just got back from Desert Storm. Now, a lot of people don't know this. When he was getting his anthrax shots, like we talked about before, and his standard course of injections to go over there to Iraq, he was part of a covert test. And it was a Lockheed Martin satellite test for the BEAST. It's called Battle Engagement Area Simulator Tracker. That's what BEAST stands for. Now, what this was, in the old days, they had dog tags for soldiers, and when there was an explosion, there would be an arm here, leg there, torso there. They had a hard time putting all the parts together. So they went to little microchips in the dog tags, and then finally, they were using the field configuration in Iraq as a real-life test. And so they gave McVeigh an implantable microchip in his buttocks on the right side there and did not tell him. What they did was they picked out certain soldiers in different groups and gave them these little chips using the cover of their injection without their knowledge. And the protein codes on these chips were poor back then in the early 90s. They were testing them, and they resulted generally in degradation and breakdown and autoimmune response in the body. And that's exactly what happened to McVeigh. After he got this shot he didn't know about, when he got back, he started having red sores and stuff on his rear, and he had to have that thing removed, and he got really pissed off.
All right, so as you can see, through gradualism, they've been trying to perfect these things. Now, 30 years later, what do you think they have? They're ready to move. They're ready to roll. Okay? Now, I'm going to let him finish. I just thought that was interesting to hear, right? Being that here we go. We're waiting for the last shoe to drop before the missiles come, right? And what is it? He's explaining it, how these things have been in use and how they're evolving over the years, all right?
The Army had secretly done that. And Lockheed Martin had satellites. And the satellites were tasked over the Iraq war during the January 91 conflict. And it was a real-time test with smoke, oil well fires, oil plumes, sand, wind, all the things going on in a real battle where they could monitor individual soldiers through the RFID tracking chips. That way, if a soldier was blown up with some Soviet ordnance like Saddam was using, or those Scud missiles that they were using at the time, generally the torso would remain and maybe the arms and legs would be spread out, but they'd find the body by the chip. It was a new way. They were trying to sell it to the Army as a new way to take care of wounded and find soldiers after battles and stuff. So that was being tested, and he found out about it, got really pissed off. He had it removed. Now, we know this because he wrote letters to his sister Jennifer, and I have copies of those letters in this book in the appendix. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but when Jennifer McVeigh, well, that's not her name, but they were sister and brother, when Jennifer was subpoenaed to the 10th Circuit Federal Court up here under Judge Richard Bates during the McVeigh trial, she was subpoenaed to testify, but the FBI previously went in and kicked her door in and taken a lot of these letters and things because they didn't want all this stuff showing up when the Oklahoma City bombing trial came.
I just
So
have
McVeigh wrote.
real quick question, because Joe and I were at, but did not speak with McVeigh's father in Lockport, New York. She was living in upstate New York at the time, right?
Who, Jennifer?
Yeah. Or
I'm not sure where she.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure where she was.
Because
but McVeigh was in upstate New York, around Buffalo, New York,
right.
when he worked for Calspan. Yeah.
Right, and there was I'm going to tell you right now, there was a lot of talk. Joe and I were up there. A lot of talk about his activities, and but go ahead. It's an interesting crossroads that you and I have.
Let's get back to that circle right here in just a second. But for this thing right here, I'm getting to the real critical part. First, he'd seen with night vision what really happened at Waco. That kind of pissed him off. Secondly, he'd been implanted with his test microchip that they didn't tell him about. That pissed him off. The third thing that did it was when McVeigh got back from Desert Storm, where he'd been a tank commander, won a Bronze Star, confirmed kills. It's all in the DOD records. He applied for Special Forces, and there was over 100 guys in the class. Well, due to the psych profiles and tests they gave him, CIA covertly approached him and 10 other guys, and they wanted him to bomb buildings, assassinate people, and using his front as Special Forces. In other words, CIA wanted him to continue graduate from Special Forces. His whole MO would be Special Forces, but he'd really be doing jobs for the CIA, just like my buddy in the Army Rangers when they pulled him out for the CIA. So this is a standard thing. And so, I had a civilian front as being, a geophysicist, and that was a good civilian front. But this was going to be using the Army as a front. And so McVeigh told him no, and that's when he left and he quit the Army. He went up to Calspan in Buffalo and was a security guard up there. And that's where we think he probably, after being placed in the standard CIA program of alienation and isolation, that's where they take a combat vet or somebody that saw a lot of action and he's bored to death at some job, and then they approach him and say, hey, you need a job, you need something. And you get a little excitement, and you make a heck of a lot more money than you do as a security guard. But Calspan up there, that place, they were in the Redstone program with the Air Force. That was an electronic ECM, electronic countermeasure thing. They had microchips, a lot of telemetry systems, waveguide antennas, and all kinds of real high-powered stuff, and McVeigh happened to be there. Then he shows back up later, in the Ryder truck at the Murrah building at the Patsy. There were 2 bombs down there that did not explode. There were 3 of them pre-wired, and they did that exactly how I would have done that building. I would have had a cover, because that building, when you blow it up, it's a civilian building in a country with a lot of infrastructure like America, and you have a lot of civilian newscasts and cameras everywhere. That building went up. It had 168 people were killed, 680 injured. It destroyed 86 cars, 324 buildings were damaged over 16-block radius, $652 million in damage, and shattered glass in 258 buildings. So that was a big deal. And how are you going to cover that up? How are you going to do a black op and bomb something like that to get rid of the Gulf War Syndrome records and the Clinton Whitewater records and all of that Arkansas CIA stuff over there? How are you going to do that without a cover? And they did that exactly how I would have done. I would have had a civilian cover or an Army ex-military cutout like McVeigh, and have the Ryder truck pull up. Then you have 3 bombs simultaneously wired already sitting there, and then you detonate them more or less simultaneously, and the whole thing goes up, and then you lay it off on the Patsy.
All right, we'll stop it right there. So basically, he was saying that the whole reason for the bombing of the Murrah building, if you will, was to cover up the documents that were stored inside, which started with the Gulf War Syndrome, that they were using depleted uranium over in the war. People were coming back sick. They wanted to hide that or destroy the evidence. Then you had what was going on in Mena, Arkansas with the Clintons and the dope running, and how they got the dope on the street, the crack epidemic and all of that. And then he said something else at the back end. Just a bunch of bureaucratic stuff that they were trying to hide. So they blew the building up because it had all of those documents. What do you say? Whitewater. Okay, if you know anything about the Clintons, it goes back to Whitewater. Okay, and there's shady dealings, and there's what do you call it? Speak out there about the Clinton body count being so long and da 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 da. Those people, right, are absolutely the devil. So anyway, they spoke a lot about chips, right? Now these are the precursor to what they have now. He kept saying they were testing them. They were testing them, and largely that was about tracking. What are they able to do now with those things? All right. So anyway, let's get the precepts, and we'll go ahead and end it. I just thought that was interesting, right? Oh well, that's why McVeigh was so mad because they put a chip in his butt and he found out. Whatever. All right, so we'll start right here. It's Revelation 13:16, right? And they used the word the beast, did they not? They used this word as an acronym, okay, for a whatever. It was an operation or a device or something like that. Go back and listen to it again. Okay, so this is Revelation 13:16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma, right? A microchip in their right hand or in their forehead. What do you mean their forehead? Neuralink. How about that? All right. That guy used the acronym RFID, right, in his speech right there. And that no man might buy or sell save that he have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So, all right, from what they were talking about, they were mainly talking about tracking devices and how you find a body or track a soldier, that type of thing. So if that was 30 years ago, how far have they come now? They're ready to start putting these things in people for what? Right? So that to put everything on there, not just tracking, Nate, not just in your dog, but to have all your records, to have your money, how you will be able to make purchases, to do commerce. All right, according to the scriptures. So anyway, and that's just that's showing you how far this thing has come. Because all we got to do, right, is let's see. I mean, it's easy at this point. Okay, it's no secret. 30 years ago in the 90s, in 91, did they even have cell phones like they do now? No, they did not. Okay, now where are we at? Okay, see this? Now it's normal. Now they upgraded. See this guy getting in, making purchases, showing his ticket. I bought my ticket. Or he paid for it right there. See this? Okay, so it's 30 years later. All right? And it's a thing now. All right, so where are we supposed to be? Let's get 14. what is it, 6? 9. Revelation 14 and 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his charagma in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Now you're going to catch that fire and them ulcers and stuff. That thing is not good for anything, so don't take it, and get out there and do what you got to do. All right, that's what it is. And we'll get the hour of temptation, and we'll go ahead and close it. I just thought that was interesting when I heard that, because I was performing a diligent search, trying to find out what Koresh was actually doing, and I came across some information that he was an agent that was sent in there to break, to slander and to bring down the church or whatever. Revelation 3 and 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. We're very close to the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. All right? So it's almost time to get your pilgrim on. Why? Because this thing is coming quick. All right? You got Fed now underway. They gave us the July deadline. You got all these other people pushing their form of the CBDC. So it's here. All right? It's here. We're a long way from Desert Storm 1. Okay? Which was 91 according to them. All right? They got satellites and they got 5G, 6G, 7G. They got all kind of stuff now. All right? So, hey, the hour of temptation. Don't bitch up. Man up. All right? Make it through this thing until death. All right? Until death, unto the guillotine. Just say no. All right? Pull out the Nancy Reagan on that. All right, so with that, we hope that the electorate edified you brothers and few sisters. With that, Shabbat Shalom.